Does that offend you? If so, why? Phone me now. Hi, okay, all right. Now, tonight, live, coming from Leeds, and we're talking about gay rights. Why, in this day and age, should we even need to do a programme on this? And between now and the end of the show, we have a few shocks for you. So if there are young people watching or people who are easily offended, now is the time to turn off. This is a week when the front page of The Sun, of course, well-known read amongst gays everywhere and supporter of gay rights, of course, the Sun newspaper, says £1 million soccer star, Justin Fashanu, I'm gay. Why on earth should that make a sensational story? Who cares? Do you care? Give us a call. Tell me what you think on 0532 46 1000. There it is. Call us now on that particular number. Peter Tatchell is with me. Peter, of course, organised recently in London a kiss-in. Did you call it a kiss-in, Peter, or what?
We did, yes.
You did.
A kiss-in to defy the anti-gay laws which criminalise lesbians and gay men for expressing affection in public.
Now, I don't particularly want to see people kissing in public of any sort of... I mean, you know, you walk along as one guy's got his tongue down a woman's mouth, or a woman's got her tongue inside another woman, or two guys, as we just saw. I mean, are you advocating everybody should be doing this in public, or...?
What we're saying is that the law should apply equally to everybody without discrimination, that if it's not an offence for heterosexuals to do it, why should it be an offence for lesbian and gay couples to do it?
When you did have this outrage day at Piccadilly Circus, and everybody was getting very hot under the collar, did it stop the traffic? Did you get arrested? What happened?
Well, in fact, a lot of people seemed to carry on regardless. We didn't actually get that many objections. And the police, interestingly, as a result of that kiss-in, changed their policy in central London. They've decided now not to apply those laws against the lesbian and gay community.
But some people probably don't realise, but there must be members of the police force who are gay.
Mm-hmm. Certainly there are, yes.
There are members, I'm sure, of the armed forces who are gay, and that is illegal still.
Yes.
And you're trying very hard to get that decriminalised?
Yes, in fact, every year something like 60 to 80 members of the armed forces are booted out and sometimes even imprisoned for doing things which are perfectly lawful for civilians.
Now, what we just showed at the beginning of the programme were two guys kissing, which, whether you find it offensive or not, is interesting, because a lot of people won't have seen that and may have been shocked by that. Was that illegal, what we just did here, do you think?
Well, it all depends on the interpretation of the law. There's no law which explicitly says lesbians and gay couples cannot kiss. But there are general public decency laws which the police and the courts choose to interpret to criminalise lesbian and gay behaviour. So it's the interpretation which is the problem.
Do you think, we're going to talk about this more fully a little later, but lastly, do you think that that could encourage people who are not gay to become gay?
I don't think so, no. I think seeing that is not going to make one iota about a person's sexual orientation. They're either straight or gay, and seeing something like that won't change it one way.
We can't catch it?
No.
OK. 0532 46 1000, what are your feelings on gay rights? Or do you think, as we'll meet somebody a little bit later on, that homosexuality is something that should be cured and not talked about and not brought to the forefront? For the moment, Peter, thank you very much indeed. Although stay there, maybe if you want to take part in any of these calls, let's see who's on the line. Neil from Cardiff. Is there a big gay community in Cardiff, Neil?
Well, I can't speak from personal opinion because I'm a heterosexual, but in Cardiff University there's a very large section of gay rights people. And these gay rights people, they go round and they try and convince...
Thank you very much indeed. Obviously, my view of students is upheld again, particularly Welsh ones there. Sorry, Mum, no offence, I didn't mean that. Tony in Croydon. Hello, Tony.
Hello, James. How are you?
Fine, Tony.
Yeah, I'd just like to make a couple of quick points.
Yep.
The first one being that I think that the majority of the heterosexual community think that when it comes to being gay, it's all about sex, and I think that they're wrong. There's a lot of love involved.
It's an interesting point, I suppose, Tony. I mean, are you gay?
I'm not, no, but I've got a lot of gay friends. And
do your gay, the guys that you know who are gay, when you meet them, do you kiss them?
Well, not.
Do they kiss you? Just general, as a greeting, as you might with a girl.
Oh yeah. I mean, we're human beings. I mean, love is not, hasn't got sex. Love is, for everyone.
Yeah.
Sex, when it comes to gay sex, that's a different issue altogether.
Okay, thanks, Tony. I don't think, because I think I have such a liberated audience on this programme, but we'll find very many anti-gay people actually out there, because I don't think anybody can hold their hand up and say they're truly upset by being gay. We'll see. Richard from London. Hello, Richard.
Hello, James.
Yes,
I'd
Richard.
just like to say that I don't think gay people should be prosecuted and persecuted as they are.
Yeah.
I think these laws about gays kissing in public, so what? They're human beings. This all stems down from this drumming of religion. We think we're modern. It's been drummed into us from...
Did that offend you at the beginning of the show?
Not at all.
Fine, thanks very much indeed. We'll take some more calls a little later on. Keep coming in. John, we know you're not gay. What, John? What?
Go to VT.
Go to VT. I was going to go to VT, actually. What happens when a young guy is kicked out of his house, the age of 16, between 16 and 19, because he's told his parents he's gay? What happens? Where can he go? There are very few places he can go. One of them, though, is the Albert Kennedy Trust, who exist to foster young guys and young girls between the ages of 16 and 19 with either homosexual or lesbian big brothers or big sisters. I don't know what you feel about this, but I'd like you to look and perhaps call me and tell me about it a little bit later on. Watch this.
Whaley goes to town.
What made you think there was a necessity for a trust like this in the first place?
Because I'd been involved with the youth group, the gay youth group in Manchester, and I found that some young people came along and they were having problems at home, and some of them had even been thrown out of home at all hours of the day and night, some of them as young as 15.
They'd just been thrown out because they told their parents they were gay?
They told their parents they were gay, or parents found out in some way or another and wouldn't have them in the house any longer.
Now, Kath, you have a son who's gay. How did you react when you first found out?
I was surprised because parents aren't brought up to expect that they'll have children who are lesbian or gay. But I believe that every person is an individual and has their own qualities, and that was just one quality. He was, in every other respect, he was exactly the same boy as he was before he told me.
Now, the trust exists to find a family environment, as I understand it, for young people to go and live in, rather than to go into a home.
That's right. When young people leave home, if they're between 16 and 18 years of age, they can't claim any benefits now, or they can get very minimal benefits with a lot of difficulty. It's very hard for them to get anything at all. So what happens is that they have to survive somehow, and they go into petty crime, shoplifting, stealing, become involved with drugs. They often get into prostitution, although it's not what they intended when they left, but desperation means that they will go for anything. And we decided that we had to do something about this. Nobody is doing anything about this problem, or very few voluntary agencies are tackling it in little bits here and there.
But you want gay or lesbian youngsters, and when I say youngsters, we're talking of people between the ages of what?
16 to 19.
16 to 19, who may in some cases already be in a home,
Yes.
a children's home, or
Yes.
have been in a children's home, and they would have run away from that, presumably.
Yes.
Why?
They'll run away from a children's home because of the attitude of the other young people in that home, or because of the attitude of the staff. Unfortunately, a lot of staff still have a bad attitude towards lesbian or gay teenagers in care. There is some training going on in some local authorities, but most care staff don't have any training of any sort.
Now, when you get a young person coming to you for whatever reason to be looked after, how do you match up? You don't call them parents, you call them brothers and sisters, is
We
that right?
call them big brothers and big sisters.
How do you make sure that the people who are going to look after them are not wanting them for the wrong reasons?
We have a very careful selection procedure, and in the 12 months since we started, over 100 people have made inquiries about becoming big brothers or big sisters. But in actual fact, we've only approved so far a dozen singles or couples who we felt fitted our criteria. They have to be happy, open, confident in their own sexuality. That's the very first requisite. And they have to be able to give the time and the energy to a young person who is going to be very demanding.
Members of the establishment are going to obviously, I would have thought, be very, very annoyed with you and throw their hands up in anguish and say, for goodness sake, these youngsters should be with heterosexual families so that maybe they can turn away from being homosexual.
I'm an ordinary heterosexual parent, and I felt that, as supportive as I was of my son, I couldn't help him to overcome the prejudice and the oppression that he has to face every day. And I feel it's very, very important that young people have the help and advice of other people who've gone through that.
46 1000. James Whale.
Okay, we're getting lots of calls in, but of course people asking the same question as me. Why on earth do we need to actually worry about gay rights? Well, I mean, the majority of people who seem to matter to me, and those are the sort of people that you meet. I mean, I've never come across much what used to be called gay bashing. Does it still exist?
Yes, it's sad to say it does. I mean, probably something like 2,000 or 3,000 people around the country are either beaten up or seriously threatened every year in this country. That's a fairly conservative estimate. In the last 4 years, about 53 gay men have actually been murdered. Many of those cases, there seems to be strong evidence of gay bashing motives.
I mean,
so
I've read
a pretty heavy thing.
I've read some really quite disgusting anti-gay material by a certain journalist who gets far too much publicity on this show in that particular paper, and he was taken to task by the Press Council. Did that help or benefit the gay movement?
Well, except that the Press Council later reneged on their commitment. They refused to rule when he did it, when someone else did it again. And it seems to be that you know, you can have a one-off judgment, but the problem is the tabloid press in particular for the last few years has been on a real gay-bashing spree, which I think has indirectly fueled discrimination and helped to fuel violence.
We seem to get this great feeling, Peter, that a gay person is only interested in sex much more than a heterosexual person. Is that right? I mean, are gay people screwing all the time or not?
Well, I don't think there's any evidence. I mean, gay people have sex lives, they also have emotional commitments as well, and I think one of the big campaigns of the lesbian and gay movement is to get legal recognition for lesbian and gay partnerships.
I'm told that the majority of people in this country and most countries are bisexual, not gay or heterosexual.
I think it's hard to quantify because there hasn't been a really comprehensive survey, but something like in the region of about 20, at least about 20% of the population is probably bisexual.
Apparently half the, I got this out of the Star, so it must be true, half the blokes in Aussie secretly practice gay sex.
Well, certainly there have been a lot of surveys which show that a third of all men at some point in their life have a homosexual experience leading to orgasm. So a third is pretty high. Maybe the Australians have a bit more sort of oomph to them.
Yeah, okay, let's see what, a couple of calls before we take a break. Mark from Castleford. Hello, Mark.
Hello, James.
Yes, Mark.
How are you?
Hi.
I'd just like to say that...
Hotbed of gayness, isn't it, Castleford?
Yeah.
Yeah. A lot of rugby's played down there.
Quite true. I'm not into gay bashing or anything like that, but I just think what you showed at the beginning of the programme, to be quite honest, I didn't agree with that. I think it was disgusting.
Why?
Well, I mean, you know, two men kissing in public is
Did you get secretly aroused? Was that your problem, Mark?
No.
I expect it was. Thank you. Paul from Loughborough. Hello, Paul.
Yes, I'd like to make it. Why are people, well, males, so prejudiced against homosexuals?
I don't know. That's what we're trying to find out tonight.
And, well, why are those males sometimes gays themselves, which I found out myself?
Are you gay?
Yes.
Yeah. Did it take a while for you to find out you were gay?
Yes.
Or as some people say, do you think you caught it off somebody else?
No.
Do you feel people really are nasty to you because you're gay?
Some of the time, yes.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks for your call. We're going to take some more calls and we're going to talk to Peter and some more fascinating guests on the programme tonight. Keep the calls coming in. We're back after this.
Out support the James Whale Radio Show!
Right, the James Whale Show live on ITV now until 2:05 this morning, and here we are, we're running around again. We like to run around on this programme. I don't know why. Graham Webster-Gardiner is my next guest. Now, Graham, you're one of the few people who would agree to come on the programme and be openly anti-gay. Now, you're from an organisation called the Conservative Family Campaign. Perhaps you could tell me what that is.
Surely, yes. We're a group, political pressure group with 31 Tory MPs who campaign to protect and promote family life.
You yourself are not an MP?
No, I'm a candidate.
You're a candidate. Now, you feel very strongly about homosexuality.
Yes, I want to make it quite clear that I'm not against individual homosexuals. What I'm against is the action of homosexuality, and there's a very important distinction.
What is the distinction?
Well, there's a very important distinction, and that's what I want to talk about, really.
Go on.
Because the law allows at the moment homosexual acts, which, let's And it's not kissing. What we're talking about is buggery and gross indecency. Okay?
What's gross indecency? I understand what buggery is, but what is gross indecency?
It's masturbation, together,
well, we all
things
do
like
that,
that.
Graham.
Some people might do.
Don't you do
the law says that it's private.
You must do
okay?
that.
The law says that it's private.
But you don't.
And it says it's also to be for adults and over 21
You don't
years
expect
of age.
people to sort of masturbate in the street,
I'm
do you?
concerned that what we're talking about is more than what the law allows.
Okay, well, let's put down what the law is. You're objecting, and I can understand that you don't want people wanking in public, basically. You don't want people of the same sex, of any sex, doing that.
It could be heterosexuals.
I don't think anybody here
offensive.
particularly wants that.
Right, okay. So what I'm trying to do is say the law was passed in '67 quite deliberately. It was a liberalisation of the law, quite deliberately, to stop things like blackmail. And I'm completely against blackmail of homosexuals or anybody else. I'm against all the sort of attacks and things that Peter Tatchell's been talking about. I don't condone those. But I think the problem is that we've also got to recognise that some people's freedom has to be restricted to protect others. Now, who am I trying to protect? What I'm trying to protect, firstly, are people from getting AIDS. It is still in this country overwhelmingly a homosexual disease. And I'm very concerned...
Are you gay or not?
Oh, no, don't be ridiculous.
I don't know. I mean, you may well be gay. You could be
if
gay.
I was promoting family life, it's a contradiction in terms. I couldn't possibly be promoting family life.
But don't you think two gay people could live together?
A man and a woman with children. You can't do that if you're homosexual. If you're lesbian or male homosexual,
you can still live as a family unit.
You can't have children. I'm talking about traditional family unit. Okay?
You actually think we should be
marriage,
encouraging people to have more children in this country?
I certainly do. We're going to actually have difficulties if we don't have more children, as they will throughout Europe. The European Commission's recently brought out a report pointing out that we won't be able to keep people like your good self and myself in our old age unless we have more population to create the wealth.
Let's hope we don't live to old age, please. Now, the problem, of course, you say, that the content of sex education affirms the immoral ethos, propaganda for promiscuity, homosexuality and contraception.
That's also the law of the land about homosexuality, that it should not be presented in schools in sex education as the norm, because it isn't. It's a minority thing. It's probably only 2 to 4% of people actually any year involve themselves in homosexual acts. So we're talking about a majority culture as well, let's remember that. We're talking about a historical, a legal and a cultural position.
But why should we bother about what people who are homosexual or lesbian do? Why should we
in private, between themselves, we don't have to bother, and provided an adult. I'm very concerned about that Albert Kennedy Trust getting to 16-year-olds, because the law of the land is 21, and it was deliberately put at 21 years of age.
We're going to talk about it more in a moment. I won't kiss you for the moment, but we'll take a break. We won't take a break, actually. I don't know why I'm talking about that. You mentioned Albert Kennedy. What led you to the trust in the first place?
Well, I've never really been close to my father, and the macho image of the army and stuff, which my brother's in, I realised my sexuality was different and I needed help, basically. So I had some left, leaving a letter that day. When I got to work, they got
Had you
in
anywhere to
touch.
go when you left or not?
No, I had nowhere. Basically, they got in touch with the trust because they heard about it. And that night when I left work, I stayed somewhere in the city centre of Manchester.
Sleeping rough?
No, sleeping in a flat, secure flat. And the following day when I got home, they'd found me a placement with 2 big brothers, which was like leading outside, you know, the outskirts of Manchester.
Do you feel safe with them?
Yeah, I felt safe, yeah.
How old are you?
17.
Me and my dad were just arguing more and more, so I just felt like I had to leave. So I left and went to the Albert Kennedy Trust. And they got me a placement with a man, a big brother. And I got myself sorted out again in college and everything like that. And then my dad left me mum, and then I used to go and see my mum all the time. And now she's accepted it. She's accepted me being gay. And
so you're back with your mother now?
No, I'm not back
You're
with
not
my
back
mum.
with her?
No, because of different problems, you see. But my mum comes out with me now, you know, to the pubs and to the gay centre. So my mum's really accepted it. It's just my dad, you know.
What do you think would happen to other young gays and lesbians in your situation if this trust didn't exist?
Well, I think a lot more suicides would happen.
That serious?
Yeah.
Well, I know Graham wants to say more about that, and we'll come to him a little bit later on. I got so carried away and excited there, Graham, I thought we'd come to the end of the part. That was our Part 2 report on the Albert Kennedy Trust. If you'd like to find out more about the Albert Kennedy Trust, this is their address. The Albert Kennedy Trust, 23 New Mount Street, Manchester M4 4DE. Or, of course, you can write to our office. Now, I want you to listen very carefully, and Graham as well, to the lyrics of this particular piece of music from my good friend Tom Robinson, his guitarist and co-writer on this, Jacko Jack Check, and a track from their new album, which is out, and we'll talk about that a little later on, which is called What Have I Ever Done to You?
What have I ever done?
Yeah! Good. Tom, come and join us, please. Tom Robinson and Jacko Jack Check, who co-produced and wrote that track.
Indeed, the whole album that's just released this week.
And What Have I Ever Done to You? It's sort of a plaintive song, really, to you, Graham.
I think it's a parody, if you think I believe those.
A parody,
well,
do you
actually,
think?
it's not a parody. The words are all lifted verbatim from daily newspapers.
Really?
I didn't make
I'm
any
not
of
a
that,
journalist.
I didn't make any of that up. It was all absolutely word for word. I just lifted lines out that rhymed with each other.
The interesting thing is, first of all, you now are a proud dad.
Yes, I'm a family man myself,
Which-
so I'm entirely in favour of
More
families,
children.
but I am also a gay man. So
How does that's an interesting dichotomy, I suppose, for somebody like Graham to understand that, because you now live with a girl, you've got a son, but you're still gay as well.
yeah, well, I mean, I know lots of heterosexual
Yeah.
men that still sleep with blokes. So
Yeah.
I mean, I don't see why I shouldn't do it the other way around.
Do you actually think that that's going to sort of confuse your child at a later date or not?
So long as my child grows up happy, fulfilled, and somebody who finds his own way in life and learns to be himself and doesn't let anyone else push him around and tell him how he ought to live, that's fine by me.
Okay, we're going to come back and talk some more. Don't worry, Graham, you have a chance to come back on that after this break. Do you know, I was getting so upset. I thought I've got to get some peace and quiet during this show to read the letters, and this seems to me to be the only place for peace and quiet, Wales Cottage. Now, after last week's show and the visit by the BBC's Mr. Paul Morley, we seem to have attracted a bit of a fan club for him. Let me tell you that Miss B. Page writes, I'd like to point out that Paul Morley was totally correct when he said you were an animal, i.e. totally impatient with everyone and everything. Miss B. Page, love you too. Right. Dave Cardus of Derby has this opinion. He said, I thought that Paul from the BBC was a big tosser. Here's a suggestion for a future programme. Why not visit the BBC and kick Paul's head in? I don't think I'd give him the satisfaction, to be quite honest. I don't like violence anyway, so that's out. But thank you very much indeed. Tony Makin from Liverpool said that watching him trying to wind you up was laughable. Talk about having a chip on his shoulder. It was more like a bag of King Edwards. Thank you very much indeed. Actually, we had loads of letters about this guy, so I think perhaps we'll have to go to the BBC and get our own back on them. Mark Caddis of Plymouth says, now remember we had a complainer from Plymouth saying this programme was against everything that this woman holds dear, and that people in Plymouth certainly wouldn't watch the sort of trash that I put out. Well, we've had a lot of letters from Plymouth, thank you very much indeed. This one from Mark says, despite someone saying on last week's show that Plymouth people don't like the show, I do. Gino Marinelli, good Plymouthian name, he thinks that everybody who lives in Plymouth but he is an outsider himself. He finds Plymothians totally ignorant, unfriendly and thick, just like the inside of their pasties that they always have stuffed in their mouths as they walk around town. Thank you, Gino. I wouldn't, of course, agree with that at all. I think they're lovely people. Mark Sturgeon in London W1 has a suggestion about our flavoured condoms. He says, take your beloved for a romantic meal, and when the moment is right, look deep into her eyes and say, roses are red, violets are blue, pucker your lips and give me a chew. Nice, very nice indeed. And Lorraine Avery in Dorset has a great suggestion for a show. Now listen carefully.
I will say this only once. A program dedicated to Michael Jackson and his talented family.
Well, no, perhaps not as exciting as that, but thank you very much indeed for that. Funny writing on that letter as well. And finally, Simon Sandiford Mitchell. We've got a lot of hyphen names on the programme tonight, haven't we? Of Liverpool says, great show, but why is Wales Mail address caption so much crap? Well, we've done this one, Simon, especially for you. I hope you'll contribute on this week's programme. And if you have any ideas for a theme for a future show, do write in. If we read your letters out, we'll send you a pack of Wales late-night entertainment flavoured condoms. This is the address to write to. Good. Right, well, almost finished it here, to be quite honest with you. Time, I think, for now, a little culture on the show. Last week we didn't have enough culture, and I think this week we have found the culture that was so sadly lacking last week. If you're watching this on video during the day, I seriously have to point out that this young lady may upset you, may turn your stomach even. So you've been warned. It is not for the faint-hearted, but heck, it's funny. Ladies and gentlemen, Drina Darrell.
Thank you, thank you. What can I say? They couldn't afford a proper drag queen, so they got me. I'm not quite as cheap as the James Wales show. Can I just start off by saying, a while ago, I know Princess Diana was in the news all the time because she had a cold or whatever, and I had a cold at the same time, and I wasn't in the news. There was nothing about it me, and I thought to myself, that's the last time I'm going to tongue kiss that bitch on a first date. I'm not very subtle. I'm not very subtle. I'm probably about as subtle as offering the Queen Mother a pint when you know her colostomy bag is full to overflowing. Yes, if you can hear the accent, it is Australian, and no, it's not true. Australian women don't make noises like Skippy when we come. I was actually a prostitute in Australia. In fact, if you ever go there, you'll find that every woman in Australia is a prostitute, and I'll tell you why. Because you're not going to do it with those guys for free. Another thing I just remembered. I don't know if you remember, a few years ago, Margaret Thatcher had that big lump of gristle cut off her little finger. It was her clitoris. It's true. She hated it every time she shook hands. I love it. I'll be shaking hands all the time. Hello, how do you do? I don't know. What else can I say? I was going to ask if there's any dog lovers in the audience tonight. Have we got any dog lovers? Graham, are you a dog lover? Graham, come on. I mean dog lover in the biblical sense, the full biblical sense. I don't know. People do it. I mean, look, it happens, right? I mean, Catherine the Great used to do it with her horse. Women in Thailand do it with donkeys on stage. They have to get their equity tickets. It's true. I, in fact, never have. No, Drina never did it with a dog in my life. Darrell, that is my name. I don't do it with dogs, mind you. Went down on a pig once. Dizzy for weeks. Okay. Is that up? Thank you. Is that?
That's a little unfair, guys, because you promised me that Kylie Minogue was on the show tonight. Drina Darrell, I think probably better looking than Kylie. Yeah, better looking than Kylie.
More talented.
More talented than Kylie. Wait for the letters of complaint. Graham, you've been the butt of a few jokes. Come on, you wanted to come back, I think, about maybe something that Tom was saying before.
Well, no, actually, I want to talk about the Albert Kennedy Trust.
The Albert Kennedy Trust?
Sure.
Carry on. Doing a great job, I think you will agree.
Well, I was slightly concerned that the law of the land says that you've got to be over 21 years of age to consent to homosexual acts, and yet they're directing all their activity at 16,
No, you've got it wrong, Graham.
years.
I have to correct you here.
Yeah.
When a young lad says to his parents, and this happens, I'm afraid, because there are a lot of bigoted people in the world, I am gay, and his parents turn around and say, well, you can write off out of my family, what is this kid supposed to do?
Yeah, but what about the case of the Welsh pastor's...
Answer that question
What about the
first
case
of
of the
all.
Welsh pastor's son, who in fact told his parents he's homosexual and they wanted to sort of keep him in the family.
Great,
Then in fact he's taken away by the Albert Kennedy Trust in London. And
There's no Albert Kennedy Trust in London.
Yes, the Albert Kennedy Trust took them
is
away,
only in Manchester, as I
he
understand.
has a great difficulty in getting his son back.
No, that's wrong. That is totally
it is
wrong. You are factually wrong.
It's a case brought to our attention. and we're trying to help that Welsh pastor in that instance.
Can I ask you, look, Graham, I know you want to be a politician, and the way you're going on, I think you probably will be one. Could you answer the question for me, and that is, what is a kid supposed to do who is chucked out by his family because he says he's gay?
Well, the parents shouldn't chuck him out. I do not agree with that position.
But they do. That's the reality.
Well, that's very, very sad of the parents, and I don't support that, just as I don't support the attacks on homosexual men, and I don't support the blackmailing. I would rather that parents actually sat down and talked it through. There are other institutions and groups who will, in fact, help homosexual people to be cured and come back to heterosexuality.
We're coming back. Peter wants to say something, a couple of moments, a little more music right now. I think EMF and Unbelievable right here on The Whale Show. Hello, well, yes, right, welcome back. I thought I'd come in here and we'd take a few phone calls. Right, Johnny from Shrewsbury. Johnny, hi.
Shrewsbury.
Shrewsbury?
Yes.
You're absolutely correct. I could read. OK, go for it.
Well, I think we ought to have another planet.
You ought to have another planet so we can send pillocks like you there. Good idea. Right, Jason from Oldham. Hello, Jason.
It's Liggy, by the way.
As who?
Liggy.
Don't you argue with me. Ian from Suffolk. Hello, Ian.
Yeah, I'd like to say to Graham, I mean, at 17 you can get married, you can go back to someone's house, you can have an orgy if you want, but I mean, if you're gay, you can't even do anything till you're 21. You have to be in your home or his home, you know?
Yeah.
You can't have group sex, you can't have more than 2 people having sex at one time, because that is illegal.
Are you gay?
Yes, I'm gay.
Are you under 21?
No, I'm over 21.
Yeah.
I came out to my parents when I was 19, very supportive. They took me more. I find I'm closer to my parents now. I've spoken to them about it. They're very open.
Yeah.
You know, and a
so
lot
you'd
of my
like to see
friends are
the legal age of consent brought down to the same for everybody?
18. Definitely 18.
Okay, thank you, Ian. Eddie from London. Hello, Eddie.
Hello, James.
Yeah.
I'd just like to say, I'm just turned 21. I've been a practising homosexual for the last 4 years.
Yeah.
And I find people's attitudes to me and gay cunt fuckers.
Thank you very much indeed. That's really ruined your credibility, hasn't it, Eddie? But never mind, we've got your phone number, and we'll call you back and have a little word with you after the show. Donna from Paisley. Hello, Donna.
Hi.
Yeah, hi, Donna.
I'm getting married in 6 weeks, and I'm having my marriage blessed in a church. And I think that gay guys and lesbian girls should be allowed to go to their priest or minister and have their marriage blessed as well. I think it's totally unfair.
Yeah, I think the only programme I did that upset my mother, Donna, was when we actually had a lesbian wedding blessed on this show. But thank you very much indeed for that. We'll take some more calls in the final part of the programme. And Rumours nightclub in Thatcham near Newbury's. Great place to go tomorrow night. Back after this.
James Whale. The James Whale Radio Show.
Welcome back. I think you can kiss goodbye any idea of an OBE after that.
Oh.
But never mind. Graham gets in, you probably get one. Peter, you wanted to bring up another point that we hadn't covered, didn't you?
Yeah, I think one of the main difference I have with Graham is I accept the right of other people to be different from me, to have their own opinions, their own ideas, their own lifestyle, their own behaviour, providing they don't harm anybody else. Right. And that's what the gay and lesbian movement is all about. Yeah. Our right to be different. The right to be different and to make our own choices.
Well, I think we're getting through here because Graham is actually agreeing with this.
Well, I've said earlier on that, in fact, it's all about freedom, but everybody's freedom is restricted in a variety of different ways. My concern is that the freedom of homosexuals to practice their act has to be restricted if it is going to cause problems for other people, because private actions sometimes have public consequences.
In what way?
Well, I mentioned earlier about AIDS.
Well, that you've got to be challenged on that.
No,
people are dying, and it is being
The
spread.
World Health thing said that it's the highest rate of AIDS is from heterosexual sex.
One of these old things.
One of these old things called a condom. That doesn't even work for contraception for heterosexuals.
Oh, the James Whale ones do, Graham, believe you me.
No gay or bisexual man is at any risk of getting HIV, the virus which causes AIDS, if they practice safer sex. I have been having quite a prolific sex life for the last few years. Using one of these, or rather many of these.
Right.
I haven't got HIV, nor have I given it to anybody else.
Not even the Terence Higgins Trust would go along with that. The fact is that a condom, in terms of heterosexual intercourse, is only about 75% reliable. In terms of anal intercourse, it's much, much less. Because you're talking about...
Well, why haven't I got HIV then?
Not everybody gets it. Of course, not everybody gets BD.
Yeah, but let's you know, safer sex is surely a good thing to promote. Don't you believe that?
The real safe sex would be abstinence.
What is
no abnormality? If you're really talking about preventing the part,
if I dug into your
AIDS
life,
finish,
Graham, I could find some sort of little quirk. I bet that you have. Maybe you dress up in
strange clothes. You would actually have chastity. You would have faithfulness, and you would have no abnormality.
Just a minute. Just a minute. Now that
I can't be
is fine.
celibate with 5 children.
Listen, that is fine for you. I may not want to live like that. Peter and Tom won't want to live in that particular way. Why should we not be allowed to carry on our lives as we wish, or Drina as she wishes? I mean, there's no...
First of all, there's the risk of disease, okay? Not just AIDS, but other sexually transmitted diseases.
I don't even like...
There is no risk if you practice safer sex.
The second thing, in fact, is that we do have... When the Act was passed, the Sexual Offences Act in '67, it was a liberal measure to stop things like blackmail. That was right. It was not to proselytise, and it was not to say to young people, particularly young boys and young men, that this is a normal way of life. And that is a great concern.
Could I just break in here? Because this presupposes that homosexuality is such a fantastic thing that you only have to try it once and you're hooked for life.
But, I mean, Tom has come round the other way. Sorry, I phrased that badly. Tom is... You're bisexual now. Were you always bisexual, do you think? Or,
I mean, I don't think that you have to define yourself. You know, everybody has the potential within them to love other people, whatever the gender is.
What about, let me ask the people down here, this group on the floor here, you are all gay, or lesbian, sorry. Do you think you are in danger of spreading AIDS, catching AIDS, or spreading disease?
Well, of course not. It's just a load of crap that he's talking, an absolute load of crap, because we've been stigmatised with this since it actually hit the scene, and everybody knows, you know, if they actually choose to read the literature, that it's affecting everybody. Anybody can get AIDS, you know, it doesn't discriminate. AIDS is a disease that anybody can catch. And what pisses me off is that we always end up on the defensive, like we have to justify it and defend ourselves. You know, when in actual fact our lifestyles
Can gay people be God-fearing and good family people and people who are upstanding citizens in society?
Well, yeah, we can make very valuable contributions. I mean, you know, the idea that we should all be God-fearing is, you know, redundant in some measure because not everybody believes in the Bible.
Okay,
know?
I've got to bring in this what's this? Equal rights for gay whales.
That's right.
I'll talk to you afterwards. I'm quite tempted sometimes to actually disclose perhaps some of the well-known people in political life who are gay, that everybody seems to know are gay, or maybe people... Tom was one of the first people. He had an awful problem when you came out and said you were gay, didn't you? Record companies went away from you and it was a very unfashionable thing to do.
To be honest, I had more problem from the bloody tabloid press when I came out and said I was bisexual. You know, for 15 years I lived with a man, nobody gave a damn. I've moved in with a woman and suddenly they made it all over the headlines.
What do you think we should do? Live and let live a little more? Perhaps practice that Christian virtue of trying to get on and not...
I think you'll find that homosexuals, bisexuals, lesbians have existed throughout time, even in societies where it's punishable by death. They exist right across the animal kingdom as well. It's a completely natural thing. The idea that you can get it by contamination from another person is bullshit.
Okay, listen, we're nearly finished the programme, actually. I think any moment now we're going to finish. Oh, into the video, are we? Are we going to go into the video? Because we lost control just here for a few moments. It's great, isn't it?
You've gone, haven't you? You've gone, James.
I love it. I'll sit down here beside you and cover up your thighs. Carter and the Unstoppable Sex Machine. You'll love this. Anytime, any place.
Anywhere.
Take it away. Anytime, any place, anywhere. That was good. I thought we worked well there. Yes, I'd like to do that. Yes, don't do that, please. Now, where's here? This guy over here. Can we get in here? You've been taking notes all night, and if you work for one of those newspapers, I'm going to be really quite annoyed.
You know, I'm Martin from the Leeds Lesbian and Gay Youth Group.
Yep.
What I'd like to say is to Graham, if one of your children came to you and said that he or she was lesbian or gay and were going to a youth group, how would you react? Would you stop them? Or would you help them?
I think it's highly unlikely, as my children being brought up as Christians.
But how can you say it's highly unlikely? It's ridiculous. Graham, that's ridiculous.
Come on,
let's
it's
have
a
a
choice
sensible
you
answer,
make.
Graham.
How are you
It's a
because-
choice you make. There's no such thing as a contradiction in terms.
But supposing it happened.
If they came, right, well then I would try to
Hypothetically
counsel them.
speaking, Graham.
Okay, if one of the boys or girls came, then in fact I would try to help them back to their heterosexuality. Because it's a choice.
If they say they're
It's
gay,
not something
Graham,
you're born with, it's
Graham,
something
if they
you
say
choose
they're
to
gay, you
do.
can't help them back to
Of course you can. It happens all
heterosexuality.
the
You
time.
can't. It's like the
People
woman in
fall back
makeup
all the
said, you take them to the
time.
doctor and say they're sick and you give them a pill and make them
It's a
straight.
choice. You
Don't be
decide you're
ridiculous,
going to live that
Graham.
way.
Drina.
It's fact.
Sorry.
Thank you. If you had a child, that's a very good point. I'm glad you brought that up. If you had a son or a daughter who said to you that they were gay, would you sort of introduce them to somebody like Peter, who does a lot for gay rights, who
No,
may
I'd
be able to help
introduce
them?
them to people who can help them back to their normal position.
but if-
What's
normal? There's no such thing
Heterosexuality
as
is only one-
normal.
Of course there is. Everything is normal.
Your
If you
idea
have
of
nonsense,
normal,
you're
other
the
people's
abnormal.
idea.
you're the
Methinks
perverse,
he
you're the
doth
unnatural,
protest
the
too
abnormal.
much, Graham.
Medically,
Just a minute. If
there's
we
no
carry on
question.
yelling, nobody will hear anything. Graham, let me ask you this question. If your child becomes gay or lesbian, and who knows,
It's not
judging by the...
possible. They're
No,
brought
it
up
is
in a
possible. It's
Christian
very
environment.
possible. It's got
Give it
nothing
to
to do
me for
with
5
Christianity.
minutes, I could do it, Graham.
Would you, do you
Happened
think,
to Ronald
suddenly
Reagan.
change your mind about how you feel on gay
Of course
people?
not, I can't possibly, because as a Christian, I have an
Okay.
absolute position on that.
Let me go on to one more point. If you get into Parliament, if you get in as an MP, presumably a Tory, all right, would you work very hard to change the law now?
No, that's not what we're talking about. I haven't said that, have I?
No, I'm
That's
asking
why I
you,
said
would
it's a
you?
parody. I don't believe, no. What I want is it enforced properly. So I want it to remain in private, I want to remain 2 people, and I want to remain over 21.
Why
I'm not
over
asking
21?
to recriminalise it.
Why over 21?
Oh, I answered that one very easily. I actually think that 18 is too young anyhow, so it should be 21
What,
for
for
everyone.
heterosexuals?
Yes, for marriage, yes,
Yeah.
yes, so there's no problem about
What
that.
are your thoughts tonight, Graham? Hang on, Drina. What are your thoughts tonight, Graham, about somebody like Tom, who has a daughter and is openly gay as well?
I'm very sad for the children involved, or the child involved, because I think it's going to be confused. I think every child deserves 2 parents, 1 man, 1 woman, and in fact that child deserves
That's what he actually happens to
natural.
have there.
Yeah, and yes, but they need to have the right role from the man. You can give them a rather mixed role.
Well, I'm glad that's not you for a role model.
No, can I just ask him,
majority
James?
do have a role like
James,
that.
James,
Just
can
a
I
minute,
just
Darrell. Okay, what? Quickly.
I just want to quickly ask him if he's
Yeah.
saying this, then if he gets into Parliament, then by rights, what he'd want to do is go around and cure all these people of their homosexuality and get them all back to the God-fearing Christian ways of heterosexuality, which is a load of shit.
Thanks very much indeed. We're going to carry on this discussion, I should think, in the studio. If you have any feelings, write to us, let us know what you think. Next week we have a cracker of a programme for you. Join us at 1:05 a.m. Friday night on ITV. From now, from all of us, James Wells saying a very good night. Bye-bye. Bye!